In old time there reigned a rich king, mighty in arms, and well governed in his land. And this king had a fair daughter, wise and meek, and of age to be wedded. Many lords desired her, but the king would not yet give her in marriage, for he loved her tenderly, and sought only a man worthy of her virtue. Now it befell that in the same land dwelled a young knight, gentle of birth, but fallen into poverty. Yet he was strong of body, true of word, and loved God above all earthly riches. On a day, as he rode by the king's palace, he saw the daughter at a window, and his heart was smitten with love of her goodness and beauty. But he had shame, for he was but a poor knight, and she a king's child. Within a while the fame of the maiden's wisdom and fair governance spread through many lands, and the king, to prove who among her suitors loved her truly, and who only for her riches, set forth a proclamation that any man who would win her must first take 3 adventures that should be showed unto him. And in every adventure he must trust not in his own strength, but in the counsel of the maiden. When this proclamation was cried, many proud lords laughed and said they had no need of a woman's counsel, and so they came not. But the poor knight, when he heard it, kneeled in his chamber and prayed to God, Lord, if this be thy will, I shall take these adventures, not for great worship, but for love of her virtue. So he went to the court, and when the king saw him in simple armor and meek bearing, he marveled and asked, Are you he that would take these adventures? Yea, my lord, said the knight, I am but simple, yet I would prove what God willeth. Then was he brought before the king's daughter. She beheld him kindly and asked, Sir, will you take my counsel in every peril? Lady, said he, that will I, with all mine heart. Then she gave him a ring of gold, with a little stone graven with a cross. Take this, she said, and in time of need, look upon the cross and remember me, and no harm shall come to you. The first adventure. The next day he rode forth into a wild forest where none dared go. As he entered, a foul giant came against him, bearing an axe great as a tree. The knight trembled, for he was but one man. Then he looked upon the ring and said lowly, Lady, I take your counsel. Straightway the giant cried out and fell back as if stricken, for he could not endure the sight of the holy cross on the ring. And the knight, taking heart, wounded the giant and drave him away. Second adventure. After this he came unto a deep water, and in the midst of it stood a narrow bridge, like to a sword's edge. Unto the bridge were dragons, casting out fire. The knight doubted greatly, for the bridge was sharp and the water full of peril. He looked on the ring and said, Lady, guide me. And a voice in his heart said, Go softly and fear not. So he set one foot before the other, and though the bridge was sharp as steel, it wounded him not. Nor did the dragons rise, for the sign of the cross held them still. Thus he passed safely over. The third adventure. At last he came to a dark castle where dwelled an enchanter that deceived many with false visions. The knight entered boldly, but in a moment he saw about him a hall filled with gold, and men crowned, and women singing, and all manner of delights. And a voice said unto him, All this shall be yours if you forget the king's daughter. Then he knew well it was devilish illusion. Again he looked to the ring and called softly, "Lady, help me." At that word all the visions vanished, and the enchanter, crying out as one in torment, fled into smoke. The knight made the sign of the cross and came forth unharmed. When the knight returned to the king's palace, the people marveled, for never man completed the 3 adventures. The king embraced him and said, "By your meekness and the counsel of my daughter, you have overcome them." Then the maiden came forth, blushing, and said, "Sir knight, you have trusted me well. Now if it please you, I shall be your wife." And the knight, kneeling before her, answered, "Lady, all honor be to God, and after him to you." So they were wedded with great mirth, and governed the land after in truth and mercy.